John Rey Sojor from the Sela Department, Bsed-English, and today I'm going to discuss the basic concept and issues on human development, Unit 1. Human development, meaning, concept, and approaches. Learning outcome. Define human development in distinguish approaches to human development. Create a graphic organization and characteristics of human development from a lifespan approach. What is human development? Human development refers to psychological, cognitive, and psychosocial development of humans throughout the lifespan. Physical domain. From the word physical, it refers physical changes precisely, puberty, adulthood, and sexual health. It means that every person encounters this in their life. Physical changes occurrence is natural only. Cognitive domain. Cognition of human development is the concept of logical learnings of human itself. It is the process where or how people logical thinking and how brain certain person improves and works in developmental stage. It says that every person has what we call this cognitive thinking, a phase where a person develop their mental ability and progress by its growing. Psychosocial. Psychosocial domain. It involves the psychological and social aspect. It is the domain where people's social enhancement taken to know himself or itself. It involves the social life where someone to know his belongingness. From the word psychosocial, it involves psychological and social domain. It means developing person occurrence a social life where knowing someone or knowing itself is a part of growing. Some major principles of human development by Nichelle and Ken. Development is relatively orderly. During infancy, the greatest growth always occurs at the top. The head physical grows in size and weight, future eventually gradually working on its own down from the bottom. Example, neck, shoulder, middle trunk, and so on. This is the symbolical pattern. It says that Nichelle and Ken its observance on how physical changes occurs in different kind part of the body. Why the pattern of development is likely to be similar. The outcomes of developmental process and the rate development are likely to vary among individuals. It discusses the heredity and environment are different from people. It seems obvious that individuals will encounter the factors that make them different from individuals. As a result, we can expect individuals in the developmental characteristic and variation in the ages when people experience events that will influence their development. As we grow, people mindsets comes to change. It's like I'm when you're young, you think of being young, and when you're adult, you only think of being adult. Development takes place gradually. It takes years before to become one. In fact, the days of nature, the bud does not blossom suddenly. The seeds does not germinate overnight. While changes occur inside of the 3 weeks, months, or years a person undergo, that results in the display of developmental characteristic. It says that development process takes a long term of development. It takes a years, months, or even a decade. Development as a process is complex because it is a product of biological, cognitive, and social emotional process. According to Soundtrack 2002, Biological process involve changes in individual physical nature, which is true. Cognitive process involves changes in the individual through intelligence and language. Yes. Developmental state where increases as the mental state, and as per said kanina, developmental state will advance more an adult form. Social emotional process include changes in individual relationships with other people, changes in motion, and changes in personality. As we grow, um, social emotional comes to take us, where socialization is a natural occurrence in life, where changes come in occurrence. Two type of approach to human development. Traditional approach. Seeing the figure below, human development shows extensive change from birth to adolescence, little or no change in adulthood, and decline in the old age. It is the native way of how progress a development come in occurrence. And the other approach is lifespan approach, which is it has a complex explanation in any kind or side of explanation or theory aside on it. Lifespan development according to Paul Baltz. Development is lifelong. It does not end in adulthood. The development state dominates development. Development is multidimensional. Development consists of biological, cognitive, and social emotional damage. Development is plastic. Development is possible throughout the lifespan. Development is contextual. Individuals are unchanging beings in a changing world. Development involves growth, maintenance, and regulation. Growth, maintenance, and regulation are three goals of development. The goals and individuals vary among developmental stage. For instance, as individuals reach middle late adulthood concerned with growth gets the back stage, while maintenance and regulation take the center stage. In the unit 1 stage of development on week 2, the stage of developmental and at the stage of development and developmental tasks, where learning outcomes define the developmental tasks, describe developmental tasks in each developmental stage. For every development, there's an expected developmental task. As figured in the image, it shows the life cycle of developmental stage, where a baby comes to young, to find an adult, and to an adult or an old age. Developmental tasks in accordance of Soundtrack 2002. Prenatal period from conception to birth. It involves tremendous growth from single cell to organism complete with brain and behavioral capabilities. As shown in the image, it shows the how a possible life begin. It has a relation with in biology, in the branch of science in biology, where developmental stage come occurrence in a baby or a cellular form. Infancy, from birth to 2 years, it has a time of extreme independence on adults. Many psychological activities are just beginning: language, symbolic thoughts, remotor coordination, and social learning. According to Sandra 2002, at the age of 2-year-old, more on it's like a developmental or an infant stage where a person develop his ability. Early childhood, end of infancy to 5 to 6 years. Grade 1. These are the preschool. Young children learn to become more self-sufficient to care for themselves, develop school readiness and skills, and spend many hours in their play peers. As shown in the image, there's a young guy with a ball and pen, where at the age of 5 to 6 year old, everyone can write properly their name and speak dialect any language fluently. Middle and late childhood, 6 to 11 child of the age elementary school years. The fundamental skills of reading, writing, arithmetic are mastered. The child formally exposed to the larger world and its culture achievements become the central theme of the child's world, and self-control increased. As shown in the image, there were a young woman who's capable of learning at the age of 6 to 11 year old, where he can manage do some physical growth and changes in her life. Adolescents 10 to 12 years old, the age of ending up to 18 to 20 years old of age, begins with rapid physical changes, dramatic gains in her weight and body changes, contour and development sexual characteristic, such as enlargement of breast, development of public facial hair, and depending the voice. Personal independence and identity, prominent is more logical, abstract, idealistic, more time is spent outside of the family. It, as shown in the image, there were an adult, a pre-adult guy who is independently doing her adolescence life, where he rapidly changes over by the year. He became more an adult-like. Early adulthood, from late teens or early 30s lasting through 30s. It is the time establishing personal and economic independence, career development, selecting a mate, learning live with someone in an intimate way, starting a family and rearing a child. As shown in the image, there were a family started, four of them, at the age of adulthood, were someone making a family and making another life to begin with. Middle adulthood, 40 to 60 years old. It is a time of expanding personal and social involvement and responsibility of assisting next generation become competent and mature, enriching maintenance satisfaction in career. As shown in the image, there were an adult and a young generation, where he taught all of his knowledge to the next generation, and in his developmental stage of life. Late childhood, 60 years and above, it is a time of adjustment, decreasing strength, health, life review, retirement, and adjustment to new social roles. As shown in the image, there were an old guy with a glass, showing an adult or an old guy. In the week 3, it explains the research in the child and adolescent development topic, teachers as consumers, and users of research, teachers as researchers as the scientific method, research design, data gathering technique. It has all of us graduated in senior high. We experienced the research type of or research thesis type of study, where we practices the research kind of projects. Introduction. Teachers as consumer and users of research. Research gives teachers and also policy makers important knowledge as to in decision making of benefits of learners, their families. Well-informed teachers are able to use and integrate the most authoritative research findings. Research enables teachers to come up with informed decision on how to teach. This involves to educational policies, curriculum, effective learning processes, and this even those involved in research too. It can help us to be more knowledgeable about the fit teaching development levels and our learners. The scientific method. One of the important principles in research is adhere to a scientific method. Since research is a systematic and logical process, as such, researchers basically follow the scientific method. They will give us a scientific development, identity, and define the problem, which we gather all the research topic, and we gather we made a conclusion on a topic, determine the hypothesis, collect and analyze the data, formulate conclusions, apply conclusions to to the original hypothesis. It's shown in the image on how the process works. Research design. Researches are done with a high level of quality integrity, provide us the valuable information about the child's adolescent development to be able to conduct research. It is important that you know the various research designs and data gathering techniques used in developmental researches. Some are given described are the following below. Case study. And in the looking at individual psychological method where in relation, fantasies, upbringing, etc. It says it is a study um, where psychology involved, where what we call this a supernatural type of research, an unexplainable and yet studyable correlational study, a research design that determines the association. Yeah, it is commonly used for correlational study in a formal research or thesis type. Experimental, a research design that determines cause and effect relationship. The experimental method involves that this development relies on controlled methods, random assignment, and the manipulation of variables to test the hypothesis. Experimental experimental thesis or research is an is a physical or an actual research. It involves the nature itself and um, all the branches of science involving biology itself, where the study of life occurrence such in adolescent or personal development. Experimental research design that determines cause and effect relationships. Experimental method involves this method relies on controlled methods, random assignment, and manipulation of variables to test hypotheses. It is um, the common use of any scientist as of now, where experimental occurrence is like a normalized thing or a normalized thing research basis, where such like gathering of medicines in experimental way and developing medicines such like COVID virus or any kind of sickness. Naturalistic observation. This technique is involves observing subjects in natural environment. This type of research is often utilized in situations where conducting lab research unrealistic, cost prohibitive, or would unduly affect the subject's behavior. It is involves the natural from the word itself natural. It is involves the place or a natural place where every where it's tangible to to body and it conducts a lab or lab experimental. It's like experimental thesis, but in a it's more hard or longer term. Longitudinal. This research science studies follows through single group period of time, the same as studied over a period of time, usually several years or more. It is the longi it is how we say a research of history. Um, it commonly used from to those historians where they gather data on what happened in the past, such history or a news or an historical facts. Cross-sectional, a research strategy in which individuals of different ages are compared at one time. Sequential, this is a combined cross-sectional and individual approach to learn about lifespan development. Sequential is sequential sequential thesis is where a combination where the longitudinal cross-sectional which is a prolonged version where studies come in occurrence in a long time period of amount of time. Action research is a reflective process of progressive problem solving led by individuals working with others in teams as the part of community to practice improve the other way, address issues and solve the problems. It it is the precise call of physical thesis where action be taken in accordance of time or place where can be conducted accordingly and precisely. Data gathering techniques, observation. Observation can be in lab or natural settings. It is the primary or the first thing you been ever want to know about data gathering techniques. Observing someone is like um also a form of gathering data. Psychological measures can be projectorized in aspect of biological terms or study of life forms. Standardized, a study where assess different individuals in different domains. Interviews and questionnaire, a techniques that inhabit the natural gathering data system which conclude the mail media and personal. Life history records, it refers to the historical background sets of the studies of the research of the past events. That's all. Thank you.